But he called the Raiders defense pure vanilla. Huh? Yeah, we'll get into the gameplay and what to expect from the game in a minute. But what is that trash talk? I love it. I love the Kermit the Frog trash talk, the storyline that happened a week or two ago. I love it. So when we play the Chiefs, they don't need more motivation. We don't need more motivation. But I love it. Talk yo shit, smoke yo shit. Well, JJ McCarthy's talking shit. I wouldn't have done that against this Raiders defense. I wouldn't have done that. But he knew it would catch headlines. JJ McCarthy, the crappy quarterback from Michigan, I said it, would get headlines compared to all the other rookies. Because whenever you face the Raiders coming off the Kermit the Frog incident, all eyes on me, live my life as a thug until I die, I die. All eyes on me. JJ McCarthy's smart. He knew he can get all the press clippings and all that other stuff by trash talking. Because apparently we did trash talk versus Patrick Mahomes. So now he can do it against the Raiders. But he did it against the Raiders defense. Probably going to be top 10, if not top 5. But it's the first preseason game. And he called the Raiders defense pure vanilla. Is this going to add motivation to our team? You're goddamn right it does. Are we going to like it? I love it. I want more of it. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. I want every other player from every team to try to have that Raiders swag. That Raider talk yo shit, smoke yo shit. But they can't have the Raider way. But let's just quickly break it down. I love it. I love every minute of it. And he gonna have an ass whooping coming if he plays. But that's the key word, if he plays. I'm sure he will. But not that much. And maybe not against the Raider starters. Maybe not against Max Crosby. I don't know. But Antonio Pierce said they're gonna play. That's what I heard. Antonio Pierce said they're gonna play. I don't know how long, but our studs will be out there at least for one series. And if it's against JJ McCarthy, watch out now. Watch out now. But he might be able to get away with calling the Raiders defense pure vanilla. Whether win or lose, if we sack him or we don't, if he plays a lot or he doesn't, if the Raiders starters play against him like Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, or whoever, he could possibly get away with this quote. Why? Because we're probably going to play pure vanilla. That's what they do in preseason. They don't give you all the plays. They don't give you all the playbooks. They don't give you all the ins and outs. They're just trying to field the team, and they play basic football. So some of these a lot more of the young players that haven't worked with Patrick Graham are going to play in this game. So for those defense, it might be pure vanilla. They have vanilla offenses. They have vanilla defenses. But you guaranteed when the season starts, we're going to have a chocolate defense and we might still have a vanilla offense because our defense is way better than our offense. And that's what we're going to see in these preseason games. I'll talk about that more in a minute. But J.J. McCarthy made an interesting statement, and I love it, but he could get away with it because we're probably going to play pure vanilla defense. But I hope, because he said it, we F him up. I don't wish injury on anybody, but we going to come after you, JJ. I'm just joking. No, I'm not. I'm just jocking you to the flow. But he could get away with it. You know, after the game, if they lose or if they win, he can say, yeah, I told you, it's pure vanilla. If they lose, he could go, no, I meant because, the defense is playing young players and the coaches are going to put in basic defenses, like vanilla defenses. So if they lose, he can make that excuse. I mean, if they lose, well, you guys know what it is. If he wins, he could say they were vanilla. If he looks good, he could say he beat a vanilla defense. He beat a good Raiders defense. If he loses, he could say, "Oh, it's because they were vanilla." What? He has an out if he so chooses to take it. But hey, I love it. It adds more fire to the game. It got me interested more. What say you? Did that chump JJ McCarthy say our D is soft or another weak media spin? That's true. I didn't really look up all the reports. I got to check out the full court True Raider. But I'm taking it. I'm taking it the way I read it from this Raiders resistance. Should play 2 at each quarterbacks. I think that's what you're saying. So this feels wild. As a fan, JJ heading to Minnesota, still in divisions, is tough. But how the Raiders got to introduce him, but now the Raiders get to introduce him to the league. Kinda hope you serve him up some vanilla pound cake. Detroit fan made. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Everybody brave a Detroit Lions fan for hanging out and watching Raiders content. It's pretty awesome. Why don't you admit it? You're secretly a Raiders fan. It's okay. We all know. We know once you're in, you're in. Raider for life. All right. Now let's get into what's the next story I wanted to talk about. Okay, I'll talk about this for the game. We're going to see a lot of this guy early on. Expect some big plays from Brock Bowers. He will be a focal point of the offense in the first quarter. Guaranteed. And I expect him, if we are able to score a touchdown, I expect him to be the one that scores a touchdown. That's all I'm saying about the game. They want to start the hype train with Brock Bowers, and they tried to a week ago or 2 weeks ago in camp. It's going to continue in this game. He's one of the only studs on offense besides Devonte Adams, and let's call Jacoby Myers the stud as well. But he's that weapon. He's that guy. Our first round draft pick that we technically didn't need, but he was the best player available. We took him, and he's going to add a weapon to us in 12 personnel. But I expect not a huge game because I don't think he's going to play that much. He's only going to play probably the first half of the quarter or the first quarter. But apparently, if Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell are both going to get a quarter each, you would want Brock Bowers to try to get a chemistry with both of them. And Brock Bowers wants to play at least that entire first half with both the quarterbacks. Man, this is going to be interesting. The more I think about it, he might play the entire first half. But again, if he's that much of a stud and he shows it early on in the game, whether it be with Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew, whoever starts the game, and we'll talk about that in a minute, they might move him out, get him out of there. But I expect if we score a touchdown, it's going to be with Brock Bowers in 12 personnel. Because I don't know how good the offensive line will be in the run game to score a touchdown. I think it's going to come down to the quarterbacks throwing it to Brock Bowers or one of those weapons. And then now let's get into it in more detail. Do we expect Devonte Adams to play? I don't. I don't expect Devonte Adams to play. And if he does, it'll be one series. Let me get the chat room back on screen. Forgive me, guys. I don't expect Devonte Adams to play. I expect to see a lot from Zeus and Dylan Lobb and Brock Bowers and definitely Michael Mayer and the young wide receivers, the DJ Turner, offensive line DJ Glaze. But the players to watch, as it says on screen, the players to watch, and I just spoke about it, was Brock Bowers. Of course, the quarterbacks are players to watch, but the player to watch is Brock Bowers. That's the big time name that can make a name for himself in the first preseason game and really help out our young quarterbacks. Brock Bowers. We're going to find out if he's going to be a beast. We're going to see him block and hopefully catch some good passes. But that's who to watch. And of course, I'm going to be watching Zeus. I want to see a couple of good plays from Zeus, who averaged 4.1 yards a carry at the end of last season in Zamir White. He bulked up this offseason. And I'd like to see him in the run game. And I want to know what to expect from the role of the what's the other running back that we got from the Vikings? Alexander Madison. Alexander Madison. I want to see their roles and how they play out. So I predict Zamir White is the first and second down running back. I predict that maybe in training camp and during the preseason games, running back Dylan Lobb might end up being the poor man's Christian McCaffrey, and the third down back, him and Amir Abdullah. Who's the backup to Zamir White in the power down role? Well, that's going to be Alexander Madison. And then when we are in tight coverage, goal line, red zone, 2 yards a line, 2 yards away from getting a first down, when they're going to stack the box and all that, will it be Zeus White or will it be Alexander Madison as he was a backup to Dalvin Cook? And this is a revenge game for Alexander Madison, so to speak. So it's going to be interesting to see what role they use Alexander Madison in this game. If we even get into the red zone or on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, whatever the case may be. Because I don't think our quarterbacks are going to be diving like Patrick Mahomes and the other teams that know how to, or Jalen Hurts know how to get a first down every time they do it. So we're relying on Alexander Madison to get the tough, dirty yardage. But I believe that's why Zeus White bulked up, because he was told you need to be a more powerful back. Because you're already breaking tackles and you're averaging 4.1 yards a carry. Imagine if you added some protein and some muscle. You could probably bring that average up like a Derrick Henry-esque to 4.3, 4.4, 4.5, where we just have to hand you the ball 2 times and we got a first down. But Alexander Madison, I don't know how he fits with the Raiders. And Amir Abdullah. But we got 4 decent running backs that could help each other out. We got Zeus White, technically the first and second down roles. We got Alexander Madison, goal line, red zone, short yardage. Also could be the first and second down back if need be, barring injuries, knock on wood. Then we got Dylan Lobb, who looks like to be the third down running back out of the backfield, catching the passes, that trick type player that could become a wide receiver, stand in the tight end section, become a tight end. Same thing with Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers could be a wide receiver. He can become a wide receiver off of the line as well. So there's multiple versatilities, but we're not going to see all of that. Maybe a couple of plays, but we're not going to see all of that in this preseason game. So that's the running back situation and the players to watch. The wide receivers, every one of them. Trey Tucker, I want to see improvement. DJ Turner, who makes the team, the special teams. Who's going to be the third down wide receiver? Who's going to be the fourth down wide receiver? Who's going to make the team? So the wide receivers, every one of them are players to watch, except for Devonte and Jacoby. Now, the offensive line, again, I don't know if Jackson Powers Johnson is injured, if he's going to play, but we got to watch to solidify that right side of the line. That right, with Jermaine Illuminor leaving the team, going to the Giants, we got to find out who's going to step up at that right guard, right tackle position, and who's going to really man up and take charge. And then the young players on the offensive line, like Jackson Powers Johnson, are they going to find a role for themselves in a leadership? Plus, I believe Colton Miller is injured. He's probably not going to play this game. I got to look up on the updates tomorrow before the game. So this is the first preseason game. It's a lot of opportunities for our offensive linemen to start building a chemistry. And they're going to have the ability to hopefully do it with both the quarterbacks, Minshew and O'Connell. And then by the second game, they're going to be able to figure out what linemen work better with what quarterback and what quarterback works better in what system or with what plays. So let's be honest. The entire Raiders offense is one to watch. I don't expect much from them on offense. I don't. I expect pure vanilla and struggles. Now, when it comes to the Raiders defense, I want to see our backups. I want to see our secondary. I believe our first string Raiders defense, whoever that may be, is good enough to be top 10. Or at least on paper, they're going into the season that way. And hopefully we see some of them. But I need Tyree Wilson to step up. He should get a big opportunity to play in this game, in my opinion. But of course, we got to give other people times because he's still high up there on the depth chart since he was drafted last season in the first round. But I'd like to find out who our backups are, who our second stringers are, who can play under Patrick Graham's defense, even in a vanilla defense, a vanilla game plan, whatever it may be. Who is going to rise to the occasion? And there's some names on our list that can do that. So that's really who to watch. But of course, for the media, it's the quarterback battle. That's who the media is going to talk about the entire game. Who's the quarterback for the Raiders? But we all know the truth. That there's more matchups to watch than just that. Now, in the Vikings' perspective, they're going to look at J.J. McCarthy and whoever else their draft picks are, their young wide receiver that they drafted last year who got in a DUI or something. I don't know. I really don't care about the Vikings. But we're going to have two young teams playing each other. So we got to really figure out our offense in a new system under Luke Getsy against a pretty decent Vikings defensive line. Not so much secondary. But again, I think, technically speaking, the Vikings defense, even their backups, are better than the Raiders offense because of our decisions we have to make at quarterback and wide receiver and running back. So I give them the slight edge. I may be wrong. I'm not a Vikings fan. I have no clue. I'm just going off of last year. But I think the Vikings sucked on defense as well. So who knows? Sorry. Tickle in my throat. But I'll give the Vikings defense an edge over our Raiders offense. And if by the end of that game, the Raiders can score more than 20 points with our second and third stringers, I don't care if they played the Vikings second and third stringers. If we score more than 20 points in the first preseason game when we couldn't even score more than 20 points last year, Raiders offense is going to be good. That's all I'm going to say. But in Luke Getsy's scheme, expect a big run game. They're going to run it more than they pass it. They're going to run it more than they pass it. And we're going to figure out our game plan from that point of view. Uh-oh. Palmazik, Folif. Always supporting, dude. Thank you for the $10. He said, hey, good evening, bro. What's your opinion on the O-line this year? Hope to see you rocking that Bowers jersey. He is solid. Dope content. Thanks. Yeah, I've been speaking about the O-line. I'm nervous. I'm nervous, especially with some of our drafted players coming in, like Jackson Powers Johnson. I believe he could be the next Richie Incognito. Go back in the show, and I talked a little bit about that. Colton Miller being injured. I think he's on his final 2 years of his contract. Now he's seemingly getting injured a little bit more because he's getting up there in age. And we lost Jermaine Illuminor. And we got players that play good on the offensive line at right guard or left guard. Um, and we got young players that are, when they play good. But Antonio Pierce is even saying that we need more toughness on our offense. You know, and last year we didn't have a good run game offensive line. They were better in the passing, block or pass blocking for Aiden O'Connell. Clearly, because Aiden O'Connell had some good, decent games, and he had a lot of time sometimes. They were better at the offensive line in pass blocking, but in run blocking, JJ or Josh Jacobs was getting crushed. You guys remember that? He was getting caught in the backfield all the time. Whether he was being a bitch sometimes or not, that's a story for another day. But our offensive line need a better run game, a run blocking scheme. And that's what Luke Getsy brings. He had multiple running backs in his offense in Chicago. And that's what we're going to do. Because the quarterbacks need help from the run game and the offensive line. You can't just throw out these young quarterbacks to constantly pass the ball 50 times. You have to build a solid run game. But where does a solid run game start? The offensive line. And we got some young players. And we still got some unproven people. So I'm a little concerned for the O-line. Paul Maizik. Forgive me if I'm butchering it. I love you, though. Thank you. But that's my thoughts on the O-line. Now our D-line. But hey, our O-line has been practicing against a really good defensive line. So that's only going to help our O-line. Plus, we got Richie Incognito coming in, teaching the O-line about fierceness and being tough and, leading off the ball. And it's a good start. And we're going to find out in this game. But I expect more running in this game than passing, especially in the first couple quarters. Thank you so much for the donation. Appreciate you. Now, who to watch on the defense? Nate Hobbs, Jack Jones. Again, they're probably going to play a lot. Divine Diablo is going to play a decent amount. But we don't need to watch anybody on the defensive line except for Tyree Wilson. And of course, there's other players trying to make a name for themselves. But I think we're pretty solid. But it's one cornerback position and a safety position and like a linebacker position that we're really trying to find out who will lead the team. I mean, we got Robert Mickey Spillane, we got Divine Diablo, Luke Masterson, young players playing pretty decent. So those are the players to watch. It's like the Jack Jones, can he control his emotions? Can our free agent pickups play good with Patrick Graham? And will that chemistry continue that we had at the end of last season? Where all the swag, the pride, the poise, the swaggering boisterously on the field. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a really good game. And I want to see how Antonio Pierce fires up this team. And are they going to continue the tradition? If we win, they smoke cigars in the locker room? Or are they going to have it more calm and demeanored and relaxed? And then if we celebrate, the media will say, oh, it's a preseason game. What the hell, Raiders? It might look bad or unprofessional, publicly speaking. But again, hoping Antonio Pierce continues this Raider way to these young players. Talk your shit. Back up your shit. Smoke your shit. And let's have a good time while building a family and building a chemistry and getting some players that want to be a part of this team and buy in 100%. Let's weed out the other people that are not bought in. And I think that's what Antonio Pierce is going to do, and he's going to find out this week. So I'm looking forward to it. I want to see the players cheering on the other players while the defense is on the field. I want to see the offense cheering them on, paying attention. While the offense is on the field, I want to see the defensive players cheering on the offense, whether it be Max Crosby or even the young players that show family. Let's hype them up and let's get that Raider way going. That'll say a lot. And I know it's just a preseason game, but that legacy starts now for Antonio Pierce. That new Raider way, and him officially being the head coach of the Oakland, Los Angeles, Las Vegas Raiders. The legacy starts tomorrow officially. And I know it's just preseason and it don't matter. But we want to see the Raider way on the field. Win, lose, or die. It's the Raider way till I die. All right, everybody, please in the chat room, let me know your predictions. And I'm going to give you guys mine now. I believe the Raiders win. Not by a lot. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I believe the Raiders win. But I really believe it's going to be a really small-scoring game. I believe the Raiders win 13-10. And if we win 13-10, I'll be happy. Starting this new Raider way off with a win. But I believe it's going to be a little bit of an ugly game. A little bit of an ugly game down in the trenches. This game will be won or lost in the trenches with the young players and their energy and how they can keep up and if they can keep each other motivated. Yeah. Most preseason games are boring and dumb and, they don't score a lot. I see that being the case. But to be quite honest with you, because the offense is so bad for the Raiders, and maybe the Minnesota Vikings defense is so bad, that our backups on offense will be much more better than the Vikings backups, and they can score a few points and touchdowns at the end of the game. Because you got to think about it. We're going to have our third string quarterback come in. I forget his name. It's Brown or Sheldon, something like that. But he's a quarterback that can run around and make things happen. He can make things happen. He could be an amazing running quarterback. Why can't I think of his name? But still, he's going to play, and I'm looking forward to watching him. And he could probably make some plays and make some things happen against the Vikings defense in the third and fourth quarter. So we might technically score more than 13 points. I predict the first string offense, whether it be O'Connell or Minshew, only scores one touchdown the first half. And then I believe in the second half, Antonio Pierce wants to get a win no matter what, that he goes for a couple field goals just to, get points in the game and win the game. That's just my perspective. But again, our third string quarterback could come in there and look really good, and then the media is going to start saying, you got 3 quarterbacks on your roster. Now it's a real competition. He looked that much better than Aiden O'Connell. He looked that much better than Gardner Minshew. I could see that becoming a storyline for next week. I could see that. Hey, I am a Raider, and I do know what happens. All right, Raider Nation. Let's watch a video. Come right back. I don't know what video's on there, what's going to show. But we're going to come back, and we're going to talk. I don't think I have any more storylines to talk about. Let me see if I have any more storylines to talk about. And then we're gonna do some Raider chat for a few minutes. Yeah, let's get into some Raider chat after I take a quick 2-minute break, and let's answer some questions